Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast with myself, Roy Shanahan, and Nathan Doyle, of course. And this week we're joined and absolutely delighted to have Sean Connor, former League of Ireland manager. Sean, welcome to the show. Delighted to have you on.
Thank you very much.
No
I hate
problem.
the word former.
Former, yeah, well, I'll tell you why we're going to say former, because you're going to have to do a little bit of explanation here on Galway United and then Africa. It's a huge jump, isn't it? And we'd love to know how that transition happened.
Okay. Well, you want to know about it now?
Oh, go!
I'd love to.
Been waiting all week to hear this, Sean.
Great. It actually happened because I got really fed up with Galway and not getting paid. You know, myself and the players went 3 months without getting paid, but yet we put a team on the park every week, and I was sort of really almost harassed out of the club at Galway United. It was a disappointment, and that totally really deflated me. And then out of the blue, an agent, a guy from Cork, actually phoned me and said, would I be interested in going to Africa? And I thought, listen, do you know what? It can't get much worse than Galway United.
Oh God!
I flew to London. I met the people, and they were really, really good. And within about 3 weeks, I was arriving in Harare. And the big problem was, unfortunately, the owners of the football club didn't tell my assistant manager, who until 24 hours before I arrived was the manager, that I was coming in.
No way! That's unbelievable,
that's start, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so obviously you wouldn't have known too much about the league. You wouldn't have known too much about the football there. So how did you pick that up? How did you gain knowledge?
Right, this is my rationale, and I thought to myself, do you know what? It's an international game. The game is the game, you know.
Yeah.
It's played on the same size of pitch. It's played with 11 players. Okay, there'll be cultural differences, but that'll be exciting. And I thought it was going to add to my CV and show a willingness to go and embrace and engage with other cultures, and a willingness to put myself out there. And the football side of things was the easy part.
Right.
It was the cultural, you know, the traditions. Like when I first went out there, my attitude always was, as a coach and with my coaching staff, our job was there to make the environment for the players and to service the players and be there for the players. Whereas in Africa, there's almost that sort of cultural thing where if you're a boss, you're a boss. So when I first got there, I'd be at the training pitch for 8:30, setting things up. The players would arrive at 9:15, and the rest of the coaches wouldn't arrive at 10 o'clock.
Oh way!
So we had issues around that. But listen, the quality of the players were fantastic. The quality of the league was really, really good. We trained and played at the National Sports Stadium. So there was a training pitch outside the main stadium. The main stadium was 75,000 seater. And there was 4 internationals in the squad that I have. So it was, football-wise, it was good. And you know what? A wonderful life experience. It really was.
Yeah. So, what did you learn that you could bring back to every experience gives you something in football? So, what did you learn from Africa that you could brought back and you thought would benefit?
When you go into a club, when you go into an environment, don't try and change things too quickly. Take a step back. Certainly try and get across your vision, your values, and your behaviours, but maybe make those changes in a much more controlled manner rather than going in with a sledgehammer.
Okay, that's, I think.
Sean, I'd love to know. I don't want to be jumping forward too much here. And like we were saying, when we seen the link from Galway to Zimbabwe straight away, I was like, man, that's so interesting. But just to separate, rumor from reality.
Yeah.
Was it correct on how bad of a term that it ended? You know, I was seeing somewhere that it ended in terms of death threats to yourself and money owed. How much of that is reality, or was it that bad of a situation?
I was owed money, absolutely no doubt about that. I was owed money because I had a 2-year contract. Death threats. I remember coming home and my family were distraught, and I was like, I didn't see all this stuff until I come home. So, unfortunately, I think if you go back through my career, I certainly felt some of the media give me a hard time and a bad rap, and I just think it was a lot of those stories were cooked up, and Look, sometimes there's certain newspapers where the truth and a good story, there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, because even at that, and then when you said that you went to Black Leopards in South Africa, I seen it was penned as Sean went into exile to manage in South Africa. So it's like, God, there has to be, a little bit of a Mickey Mouse story behind that of a man going into exile.
Look, listen, my work permit in Zimbabwe run out, so I had to leave the country. And then when I actually took the job, and listen, if it had been that bad, I wouldn't have went back to South Africa. And South Africa is a beautiful country. And again, I had 6 internationals in the team, and you're getting up every morning, you're going to training at 8:30, and it's going to be warm and it's beautiful. I remember going to training one morning with Black Leopards, and we trained at a rugby club, and it was what I thought was sort of beautiful morning. So I was in my shorts and my t-shirts. And when the players came out for training, they were wearing hats and gloves and jackets. And they were going, Coach, you're mad, it's cold. And I says, no, lads, no, you don't know what cold is.
This is an Irish summer to us, boys.
You should have brought them to pre-season to Ireland. That would have been an interesting one.
Them boys got a load of Bally Buffet. Good God.
So what have you made of the League of Ireland? So since then you've been away from the League of Ireland because you went to Institute.
Yeah.
What have you made of the League of Ireland's development over those years since you've been away, and how it seems to have progressed?
I remember when I first came back, and maybe 2-3 years ago, they were really talking up the quality in the league. And I thought they were being disrespectful to the quality back in 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because, Shelbourne were a really strong team. Drogheda were strong, Cork were strong, Derry were strong, Bohemians were strong. Eventually, we built a strong team at Dundalk. So I think people got carried away. But for me, I think the biggest improvement that I've seen is in the structures around the first teams, the introduction of academies. You see now people coming in doing roles of director of football, head and recruitment. So the professionalism around the clubs, I think, has increased. Has the actual quality of the game changed much? I thought the League of Ireland was always decent quality, But I think I've been to the couple of games there over the first 2 games, Derry Shams and then Derry Sligo Rovers, and I was pleasantly surprised with the quality on show. The Derry Rovers game, the wind just sort of destroyed the game, but last night's game was really good football.
Okay, and you were at that. You were on radio commentary last night. So we'll dip into just what happened over the weekend. So you were at them games. Derry City, what do you make of their credentials this year? They're really putting out the boat this year with long-term contracts. They're showing a vision. They're showing that there's going to be patience. Rory Higgins given a 5-year contract. That was huge. Now his backing staff have it. He's getting players in with long-term contracts. So it shows that there is a vision and a patience that could see something develop, but it's not as easy as that either.
No, it's not. What I like about Derry is that Philip O'Doherty they've obviously got a vision in place there, and the fact that he's given Ronan Boyce signed a 4-year contract. A lot of the other boys are on 3-year contracts. So what that gives you, if you as a manager, you've got continuity, you've got time to work and shape that squad into how you want, and the players as well. There's a wee bit of. Some people can say players would get complacent. I take the opposite. I think players get comfortable, realize, you know what, I'm here for 3 years, so they want me. And I think if you're a coach and if you can tell them, I want you playing for me, you're going to get the best of them. So there's a lot of hype around Derry. It's funny because you hear from the Dublin media, it's a big spend in Derry City, Let's ignore what Shamrock Rovers have spent over the last couple of years and Dundalk. And that's good that they're spending money. And I think Rory Higgins has signed. I think they'll do it quicker than you would expect when bringing in all those new players. There's a real vibe. Over 3,000 people at the first 2 games. Unbelievable. And the Brandywell, when I was managing, was a nightmare place to go, and there used to be that slope about 7 foot from one corner to the other corner. But now they've got a really modern stadium, but they've got that atmosphere back. And I think I think they'll be. I don't think they'll win it. I still think Shamrock Rovers will have too much for them, but I think they're on the way to closing that gap and to, I think, winning the league within that 3 to 4 year period.
Okay, Nathan, what you've seen a bit of Derry this season, and there has been a change. Will Patchen went to Dundalk, and from Derry in his first part when he was with Derry, he wasn't, standing out as brilliant, but he went back to Dundalk, did relatively well there, and he started off this season very well. How do you see Dundalk? What way do you see them progressing? Are you the same as Sean? Do you think it's going to be just a little bit too far this season, and over the next couple of years they're going to really push?
I think as well, one interesting point that's not gone under the radar, but like Sean said, in the media it's all about big spending Derry City, but the players, they had a good core group of players towards the back end of last season under Rory, like I said, Rowan and Boyce saw a new 4-year deal. Kieran Harkin in the middle, one of the most underrated players last year for me. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the middle of that Derry City midfield. And Jamie McGonigal, that's one that, we done it ourselves, Roy, didn't we? Talked about Michael Duffy, Shane McElhenney coming in, but you're already seeing in a couple of opening games, Jamie McGonigal up top for Derry City is going to be absolutely huge. I know we can look at the goal against Shamrock Rovers, the winning goal. Pico Lopez made a bad mistake, but he had a lot to do with that goal as well. It's just a cool, calm, collective. I don't know. I think there could be serious challenges this season. I said it before, and a ball was kicked, but looking at them here, looking at the squad of side to side of Shamrock Rovers in terms of depth, it's no comparison at all. Nobody's in comparison to Shamrock Rovers in terms of squad depth, but if they can, take a bit of time to gel together, I think they could be serious contenders. Unfortunately, Pat's winning their side that we've been talked about. They got off to a bad start now. Well, it's extremely early days. Yeah, it's already looking like Derry City could push over. So I think they really could this season. I really, really do. I think they could push them a long way this year.
Yeah, and something that you were saying, Sean, when you look at the league, I'm looking at Bows here, I'm looking at Pats, even Dundalk now. You're talking about the 3 and 4 years players get comfortable to get in a unit and they probably get the best out of them. These teams have chopped and changed over the last few years, albeit they've got good, consistent, apart from Dundalk, results. Bohemians and Keith Long is doing an amazing job there, having to recycle that team all the time. But if they all got a settled team and they all got longer term contracts, you might see them challenge actually for the league, which they haven't really done. Even Pats last year, you say they were challenging for the league, they were chasing all the time, weren't they?
Yeah.
Sean, sorry.
Yeah, I think the long term contracts, I said, it gives continuity, it allows you to build. Going to what Nathan said, McGonigal has really, really improved. McGonigal played against us when he was at Crusaders, and he was good, but I've seen him go up another 15-20% since he's moved to Derry, and I think the league suits him. There's a wee bit more football played. Maybe the style at Derry suits him better than what it did at Crusaders, who would be perceived to be a bit more direct. And like Nathan said, his goal the other night, when he picked the ball up, he had a lot to do, and the wee rollover, just to lose his man, shift the ball, and then to put it in almost in the opposite corner that he was going across was fantastic.
Nathan, when you look at the likes of UCD and Shells, you're kind of expecting nearly that a result of 0-0 on Monday night. Shells did pick up points though, I wouldn't say surprisingly either, against Drogheda. Do you think Damien Duff's perceived mentality, wanting the best out of players, not having a certain level, which he obviously played at the highest level, do you think that's going to be good enough to keep Shells up?
Yeah, I think it is. I wouldn't actually worry about Shells this season, to be honest with you, Roy. I don't think they'd be in much trouble. I think if you look at squads like underneath them, like, don't get me wrong, they got 3 points against UCD. These are games that they should be winning. Even though, look, it's straight to Andy Moyler. I think UCD he's done well the first couple of games. Obviously with the opening game against Rovers, that was always going to be an uphill task to them. But yeah, look, going back to Shells for a second, I wouldn't worry about them at all. It's a really good squad of players there. I got to watch a bit of the game against Drogheda United. Aod Irvin, Mark Coyle, both of them in the middle of the park for Shelbourne look like they could be inspired signings. Dan Carr up top still looks a little bit off the pace, whether that's a lack of fitness, it's meant to be seen. But yeah, no, I think they'll be fine this season.
Okay. Is it a good thing having the likes of Damien Duff coming into the league, Sean?
I think so. I think you just said it about he brings a level of standard that I think is should be embraced at every club, and I'm quite sure that every other manager in the league has those similar standards. You make a good point. Will the fact that Damien's played at that high level, will he almost be a bit Roy Keane-esque and get frustrated with his players? That would be interesting to see if he can work with those younger players and maybe accept the mistakes that they're going to make, and maybe accept that they can't quite do the things, or I think that's one. I'm a great fan of Roy Keane, but I think that's one of his biggest problems in management, that he can't quite grasp or understand why players don't behave the way that he would have behaved, or have the standards that he expects.
Yeah, it's a huge weakness in being a manager. You have to be very patient with certain players at times. Sean, I'm going to stick with you on this one because I want you to comment on St. Pat's, because Nathan obviously will. He'd love to hear your opinion on them. It's very surprising, really, isn't it? The beaten by Bows and beaten by Sligo, of course. They started off relatively well, and people from last season are expecting them to kick on and really challenge. Last two results aren't going to help, are they?
I was shocked by the last two results because I thought in the first match against Shelbourne they were excellent. I thought Owen Doyle was a really clever signing, a really good bit of business. It looked like Forrester was back to his best, and they looked to have plenty of energy going. And I would have said, my top three would have been Shams, then maybe Pats and Derry. I would have to have reservations over them now. Maybe they've got a bit of a soft underbelly. Maybe all is not as. And then there's obviously that Stephen O'Donnell leaving. How will that impact the squad? What legacy did that leave? Is there things there that was a strange one? And as you say, like they performed really, really well in the cup. It could be just early season blip, those first 6 or 7 games. But I look at the squad; they've got experience, they've got some really good quality players there. I would expect them to be certainly in the top 4.
Yeah. Nathan, Stephen Bradley has done a great job with Shamrock Rovers, but we won't talk about this Stephen Bradley. Stephen Bradley from Dundalk has really set alight that team, hasn't he? And it was 4 goals in 3 games. Yep. Yeah, he's really. Some of the goals have been absolutely fantastic as well. I seen a tweet there today. Who has he come from? He's come from Scotland, Hibernian. And I seen Hibernian, and it says. Don't bother Hibernian checking up on how he's getting on. He's absolutely rubbish. You're right to get rid of him. Is that the type of player? We didn't expect these type of players to come in and make an impact. We were very cautious about anyone that was going to come in after last year. So Stephen's definitely a positive. Is there any others?
Yeah, look, and just in fairness to Stephen O'Donnell, as I said to you before, his recruitment overall, like we've seen at Pats, is relatively good. He has a good track record of doing that. Of bringing guys in, not only within the league but from the outside. We've seen him with Pats. He brought in Paddy Barry, who had a fledgling League of Ireland career. He was over in the likes of Cambodia, and he turned out to be one of the most well-received Pats players last season. So in fairness to O'Donnell, he does have that in his back pocket. If we're looking at early, what are we talking, like early signing of the seasons or something? Are we here? God.
That's what we do, Nathan.
I know it is, isn't it? Yeah, making quick predictions. Not sure actually. I'm trying to look at something like I was excited about. I said to you before about Ryan Cassidy coming into Bohemians. I thought very, very talented player, seen for the Ireland underage system. He really should have more caps at that level, but he's just been so unlucky that it's such a talent-filled position he's in at the minute. I'd like to see how he gets on. As the draw to the centre half, Stephen Rowan, by all accounts, I can't say I'm a connoisseur of his career, but there's been nothing but good things, and a lot of people tipping him to be the next breakout star. So while that wouldn't be signing of the season so far, they're the 2 lads that I'm interested in looking at going forward and seeing how they get on.
Okay. Claps there, Nathan. Good man.
Yeah, someone breaking into the house. Don't worry about it.
Sean, when you look at the first division, Galway, Cork got a great first result, 6-0 against Bray, and then Galway go and decide to turn them around in the next game. You've got the likes of Wexford, who who got turned over by Treaty. Then they go and beat Cove. The league is so unpredictable. It's very hard. Around maybe Waterford, everyone's kind of predicting Waterford to go on and win this league. But again, it's never that simple.
I think the first division is really tricky to call, and I think you've only got to look at Waterford because they come down should be the strongest. But I think Cork City have a fantastic club. What happened with Colin Healy? Will that affect them? Did that affect them against Galway? The money at Galway United there that they probably expected to get up last year and they didn't. It'd probably be a 3-horse race between those 3 clubs. One of the other ones may come out of the pack, but I just think probably the finances and the quality at Cork, Waterford, and Galway should see on. Just a quick point before we go on. You talked about the boy coming from Hibernian. Back in 2007, I brought Stephen O'Donnell from Falkirk, and he turned out to be a pretty decent player.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I believe you had Seamus Coleman down there as well in Sligo.
I said Seamus Coleman is a 17-year-old after I took Sligo Rovers up to play the local team here in our very first pre-season friendly. He played for 20 minutes and we spoke to him afterwards, and it took a week or 2 to get it over the line, but yeah, we signed Seamus. Yeah.
And how was Seamus? What kind of character was he? Can you see the same character in him now that you see then?
100%. When after the game, he played centre back, and I spoke to Darren Mantram and some of our players, and I thought, what do you think of the young lad there? He was the only player in their team that sort of looked to be one. He had real pace and real energy, and he wasn't overawed by us, and they all thought he was a handful. So it took Seamus a while to settle in. When he first came down, he'd never trained full time, and that was a big thing for him. He'd never been away from home, and always made me laugh. He came into the office one day and he was sort of, I don't think I'm going to do this. I don't think I can do this. And, we would have done a lot of 2-touch, 1-touch and quite high intensity and with good technical players, Kadodovic, Hughes, Turner, Singh, Mantram, with really good, Conor O'Grady, really good players. And he sat in front of me in the office and I looked at him and I realised, I said, Seamus, look, you're not in the squad at the weekend, son, so why don't you go back to Killybegs for the weekend and don't come back until Tuesday. And then if you still feel the same on Tuesday, you come and see me and we'll have a chat about it. And he never came anywhere near me again. I just think he just needed to get home for the weekend.
Yeah.
But Seamus was the first one on the training ground, the last one off it, always asking questions, a coachable player, and you could just see where he was going, I tried to sign him for Bohemians, and I don't think Sligo Rovers realised what they had, because I think the manager who came in after me wanted to get rid of him. We tried to sign Seamus, and Seamus's cousin was Desi Farrell, and we had it agreed that he would go and live with Desi Farrell, but it's
never materialised.
Like even now, it's still one of the biggest bargain transfers in the Premier League history, isn't it? If you look at what Seamus has done at Everton, for
100%.
That he got him for.
And when he went over to Everton, I remember when he made his debut against Spurs. I was away on holiday, and the Liverpool Echo phoned me up, and they wanted to know how good this kid was and how good he was going to be. And I just said that at that stage, from what I knew about Seamus, that he would eventually break himself into the first team, and in my opinion, would become an international. And I didn't think he'd really do as well as he's done. He's fantastic, and he's a model professional, and it's a nice wee thing to have on your CV.
It is, because I went to Everton. I watched them against Crystal Palace. We were over there with the football club and playing different games and all that. But we went in to see them, and he was up against Zaha on the left-hand side, and everyone was talking, Zaha up, this fella is brilliant, and I was really interested. So the only thing I watched in the game was these two. I was so interested in just this battle, and Zaha gave it everything to go at Seamus, and Seamus never gave him a sniff. And after 20 minutes, Zaha finished. He just gave up. Unbelievable.
Seamus would have absolutely relished that and probably read the stuff in the paper or listened to the stuff, and that was right up his street. That was like a challenge to him,
Yeah.
And as I say, when he came back to us, once he realised, I actually remember him saying to me that when he first went to Everton, he realised the standard was up. But he talked to himself and he says, well, I remember when I first went into Sligo and I thought I wasn't going to make it, and I just put my head down and worked hard. And he comes from he's got a really good family background. His parents were always supportive without being pushy, and always just there for him. And no, he would love that battle. He would relish that battle. I think that's the Gaelic footballer in him as well.
I think that's probably what it is. That's a bit of Irishness in it. You know, we like a little bit of a challenge. Okay, Nathan, the Women's National League kicks off this weekend. It's interesting because there's a question that we have out there. We talked about it last year, and we're going to bring it in because we'll ask Sean after yourself, Nathan. But should every League of Ireland club at this stage have a women's team?
Do you know what? I'm going to pick on one team in particular, Roy, because I understand the cost that goes into it and it might not be feasible for everybody. But for me, the fact that Shamrock Rovers haven't put a women's team together is crazy if you look at their resources. I'm not in the training facility that they have out in Roadstone. Yeah, I think if it was to pick on one team, it would be themselves. Because like we're seeing it, Sligo Rovers are making their debut in the Women's National League. I think it's in Peamount in the opening fixtures on Saturday. This Saturday coming the 5th of March.
5 o'clock on Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that if it was going to bully one team into it, I'd be surprised that Shamrock Rovers haven't done it yet.
Yeah, what's your take on it, Sean?
I think it's the way going, and I know there's grants and there's stuff available to help the clubs do that. I think it's the way of the world now. I think it's making your club part of the community and attracting female players. I think is only good. I think Stevie Feeney's managing the ladies team, and Stevie played for me. Fantastic guy, great feet, great, really clever footballer. So, and I know he was coaching at Ballinamallard, so I think Stevie will do a really good job there. But I think it's important now that every club embraces the women's game, and there's some really good quality matches there when you go and watch them. And the international team's doing reasonably well as well. So, and up north, Northern Ireland, or Kenny Shields has got the Northern Ireland women's team going really, really well. So it's a big part of the game. It's a big growth, and I think, as I say, if you can develop your women's team and attract more young girls into your first team games, it's going to be better for the overall the family feel of everything around the club.
Yeah, Nathan,
it's more accessible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I see it week in, week out up at our football club up in Lucan United. On a Sunday especially, all the pitches are covered just in girls playing football, which is absolutely brilliant. And the great part of it is, it used to be that when there was girls teams, the level wasn't a great level, and people kind of look down at it a little bit, as to say, they're just out for it. But the level of football now, the level of footballers now, because they're mixed in with the boys when they're starting off, you know, from 8s, 9s, 10s up to 11s or whatever, and then the level is really, really good. The Women's National League is free on LOI TV, isn't that correct, Nathan?
It is, yeah. It's going to be on that the LOI show as well, the highlight package, so it's going to be included in that. And as well, we've seen it last year, they were added to the electricity sponsorship as well, so it's the electricity Women's National League. So these are all things that are only going to benefit the marketing and the pushing of the league. Because like I said, Roy, these young girls, you know, the women in these leagues are going to become heroes, local heroes to these girls, and someone that they can look up to, and someone that they can relate to, and someone that they can, you know, achieve to be. So it is, like Sean was saying brilliantly, it does just makes everything much more accessible. And now all of a sudden, if we can promote the league and develop the Women's National League, there's already now a pathway from, like I said, these young girls playing in Luke, and they can move themselves up and achieve to hopefully play in the Women's National League one day.
Yeah,
I remember I coached Tyler Toland. She played at Maiden City, and I was doing some coaching up there. And it was a boys, I think it was an under 14 match, but it was down in, might have been outside Drogheda, and she was the best player on the pitch. And I remember afterwards telling them that, you know, Tyler was the best player on the pitch, and she was the best player on the pitch because she took this instructions from the coach, literally carried them out. And I actually said there, the last player I had like that was Seamus Coleman, and he didn't do too bad. And Tyler's gone on. I think is she at Glasgow City or something like that?
I do find that when you're coaching the boys and the girls take in information really, really well. So and promise to be, like, I have a daughter, she's only 2 by the way, but her mother thinks she's going to be a princess and a ballerina and all, but I'm sneaking rolling the old footballs up to her feet every now and again. So you know, it's but it's great that it's out there, and that they have all the facilities out there to be able to play during the winter and, you know, with Astros and all that sort of stuff. And that the girls now, when they hit a certain age, which it always was, when they hit about 14 or 15, they gave up football and then they didn't do any hobbies at all whatsoever. So now they're really getting into it. So I'm chuffed, and I hope that the Women's National League improves tenfold. But I think League of Ireland clubs, especially who haven't, like Nathan said, need to step up to the plate and get something there, so these girls can have something to aim for. Okay, Roddy Collins announced his book this week, The Rodfather. It's Nate, I'll start with you. It's bound to be a cracker, isn't it? Maybe Sean's in there somewhere.
I can't wait with this one, mate. It might shock you to know, lads, I'm not a big reader. It's not me nature. Like every Irish football fan, I opened up Champagne Football to give that a gander when it came out. But yeah, the Rodfather's going to be dropping in October 2022. So yeah, we look forward to that one. Look, Sean, I have to ask you while you're on here with us, yourself and the Rodfather, Roddy Collins, would have managed around the same time in the League of Ireland. Any interactions with Roddy? Any memorable moments that stand out to you?
Plenty of interactions with Roddy. A real character. So I would have managed against Roddy when he was at Sligo Rovers in Dublin City. And then I worked with Roddy for a year on Monday Night Soccer. You know, right. So in terms of management, the first encounter I had with Roddy was pre-season when I just took over Sligo Rovers. Shamrock Rovers were in the Premier Division, so we're First Division. And I remember going to the board and saying, "Look, I'm going to get Shamrock Rovers up here," and they thought that was fantastic because they'll bring a crowd, and we haven't played. The two Rovers hadn't played for a long, long time. So Roddy comes up and he was negotiating. They wanted us to cover their costs of the bus or something, and I was trying to keep all the money for our club. Anyway, we agreed for a certain amount of money. And so we were chatting before the game. And I said, Roddy, look, listen, I think it was a 2:00 kickoff. So I said, look, after the game, I have a bottle of red wine here. So we can have a glass of red wine and, you know, have a chat. And we were both talking about the season. And I was going, I'm quietly confident that we'll get up. And he was very confident, as Roddy would be.
Wouldn't be like him.
But he said to me, he says, to be honest with you, if we don't win 3 or 4-0 today, I'll be really disappointed. So I said, well, look, listen, we'll have a glass of wine no matter who wins. So I think we won 1-0. They're out the gate, and there's no wine. And then when you used to do Monday Night Soccer with Roddy, you'd be on the couch, and if you were talking, Roddy would just put his hand on your knee.
To stop you.
That was you. Say, hey, be quiet now. It's my turn.
Oh God!
Do you know what? I love Roddy Collins. I will definitely buy that book. I read a lot of books. I would read a lot of management books, and I haven't read Champagne Soccer because I sort of was around then, so it hasn't interested me. Roddy's book will interest me. And I didn't want to give away too many of my stories because I think with my escorts in Africa and stuff like that, I'll have a book with me in a couple of years' time as well.
You'll have to go back out to Africa for the photo shoot, you know, wearing the traditional attire.
The one thing I'll say about Roddy is, do you know what? Every job he took on, he lived it, and he really embraced the job, you know. And not too many characters like Roddy about now.
No, there's not. Tell us, because it does. There are certain managers that get taken for just the personality. I suppose when you look at Finn Harps and then you look at Roddy as well, they always go, "Oh, the manager's a real character," but they never really give him the praise that they deserve. Was Roddy a good manager? Did he know his football inside out?
Roddy Collins knew the game inside out and upside down. Roddy managed at Carlisle. Yeah. You know, Roddy was working in England. Roddy was a shrewd operator. Understand, and Roddy's teams could play, but they could also dig in and get results. And I would think he would be what you would call a pragmatic manager. Roddy was able to do whatever he thought he had to do to get results. So sometimes that bravado and that character, I think, maybe did him a disservice, because I think, you know, he was a cleverer coach than what I found him. I found him engaging. I found him. You could have a row with Roddy, and as soon as the game's over, it's forgot about. And he's good company. Good company.
Yeah, Nathan, just on Roddy, there's been times we talked about it before where he would lay into some people and it wouldn't make him look well at all. You know, he probably lashed Stephen Kenny out of it, or whoever was an Ireland manager or what have you, and nearly in the same breath saying that he'd do a better job, which is great to have the confidence, but sometimes, you know, maybe you don't need to say some stuff and just put your point across.
Yeah, we've seen it before, haven't we? He's done, like yourself, Sean. I know he's done freelance work for was it the Sunday World or the Sun? Who was he with? He done some articles with
Sunday World.
Newspaper. Sunday World, was it? Yeah. So he had, fairness to him, he's transitioned into that side very well. You know, making the transition from football into media. I suppose one that I'd like to ask, probably the two of us now, is there would there be a place for Roddy Collins in today's League of Ireland? You know, I'm supposed to say, even from what you would have started off with, Sean, to now, the dressing rooms as a whole and the atmosphere in the dressing rooms must be completely different with the personnel that are inside it. So would someone like Roddy Collins thrive in modern day League of Ireland football?
I think Roddy would adapt and find a way. You know, I think he really loves the game. Wouldn't it be interesting to have Roddy Collins as your chairman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't take the job unless he had a camera behind him, I would say, anyhow, because he does like to have the focus on him. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you think, God, is that as you said, is that his downfall? Should he do his business quietly at times? And albeit, you know, it's great because he gets the attention of people. So I'm sure that for the clubs can get great, you know, attendances and interest from the media and everything from him. But sometimes he just maybe says stuff that, well, he doesn't really need to say.
I think as well, the same people who build him up and almost encourage him are the same ones that eventually are trying to knock him down.
Yeah. And what about, say, because I just hinted at Ollie Horgan, what do you think of Ollie as a manager? Because again, he's that type of manager who people kind of, I don't know if they say they put their nose up to, but they kind of, to have a laugh, Ollie's a character, as if you can't be a character and a good manager.
Well, again, Ollie, I was only speaking to Ollie last week. Listen, the job he has done at Finn Harps over the last 5 years has been admirable, and he's worked with a budget that is really, really difficult. And year on year, we talked about Derry sort of signing 3-4. Ollie has to build a team every year. Yeah. So I admire Ollie Horgan, and again, you don't survive in the league, you don't survive at a club like that for that amount of time without being a good manager. Now, is Ollie the manager that? Well, for me, his probably only downfall is he doesn't seem to bring through young players. But if you know, he knows a good player, he knows an experienced player. He gets his team playing the way he wants them to play, and he certainly gets his teams working for them. So,
does that mean you think he's a good fit with Finn Harps? But would he be a good fit with Shamrock Rovers?
Yeah, I think there's certain managers suit certain clubs. You know, you've only got to look Jurgen Klopp as Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, his personality, his mannerisms just suit Liverpool. Would Guardiola suit Liverpool? I don't know. So certainly, I couldn't see Ollie managing Shamrock Rovers. You know.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave the Roddy Collins there because we'll definitely talk more about him when the book comes out, and we'll even try and get Roddy on, although that might be a three-parter, I'd say, if we got him talking. Nathan,
I'm only asking for a signed copy.
Yeah,
that'd be it. You know what, Sean, you'd see that on my back wall there, just pride and joy.
Nathan, do you have a fan's question?
I actually do, Sean. We usually get fan questions sent in. Not fans of the show, just fans of League of Ireland. Because we have like 3 fans of the show, so that get pretty boring. But actually, I did. Funnily enough, we got a fan question sent in about yourself. But I actually have 1 or 2 questions that I'd like to run through, if you don't mind. I know you've been very generous with your time. Yeah. Look, starting off, I know, to go back to start your career with Sligo Rovers. Yeah. Is there any truth to the fact that you were actually recommended by Steve Bruce for the Sligo Rovers job?
I applied for the job, and at that stage I was working with Steve at Birmingham as in charge of the press and the media, and so me and him would have got quite close. And Sligo Rovers, 3 members of the board come over to meet me. And yeah, Steve Bruce and David Gold invited them to be guests at a Birmingham City against Lincoln City in a League Cup match. Steve had them in his office before the game. They had a tour of the training ground, and Steve basically said that, look, if I got the job, he would help me with players or whatever way that he could help me. So yes, he was very much involved in that.
Yeah, brilliant. Because like I was saying to Sean off camera, that I'm living in Sligo myself, and I said to a few lads that I work with, like, to be Sligo Rovers fans, and all of a sudden these myth and rumours start coming out, and one of them like, oh yeah, Steve Bruce got him the job at Sligo. I was like, Steve Bruce got him, like, recommend the job. So just while you were here, I had to pull you on that one. So on to the fan question, Sean. This was sent in by a lad.
By the way, Steve also recommended me to go to Bohemians.
Did he? Yeah, there you go, Steve. Steve, fair play to him.
I remember speaking to him, and I really was. I didn't know what to do, and I phoned up and said, Steve, look, I've got this chance. And he said, what's the budget? And he said, listen, son, if it's a big job, a big budget, you have to take it, because if you don't take it, you may not get offered a big job again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you were saying off camera, Sean, wasn't it that when your departure with Sligo Rovers, it's got misconstrued, hasn't it, over the years, where you were saying it was controversial, and I see people pulling old quotes out, saying you were never accepted. But in the grand scheme of things, like you were saying to us, Sean, that you simply left one job to take another job for a bigger budget.
Do you know, I've seen that quote time and time again. I don't actually ever remember saying that, because for 2 years, I loved living in Sligo. For my father, my uncles, my friends used to come down to Sligo Rovers match every Saturday night. And Sligo on the showgrounds on a Saturday night, and then when the team won, the town was buzzing. I won the league with Sligo Rovers. I took Sligo Rovers back into the Premier Division. I left a really, really good team, and one of my biggest regrets is probably, maybe I should have stayed and see what I could have done with that team. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, and anybody in any profession, if you're given an opportunity to go somewhere where you've doubled the budget to work with, you're being better paid yourself, I would like to see how many people actually would have turned that down. And it used to disappoint me. But even like recently, I went to watch Sligo Rovers last season, and some of the fans will always say, "Listen, you did a fantastic job. You were brilliant." And so to me, there was no controversy over me leaving Sligo Rovers. It was just a football manager and a young football manager making a decision that he thought was going to better his career at the time.
Yeah, like you said, like you won the first division with them, and not even that. The first year back in the Premier Division, you got them into 5th place. You got them into the semi-final of the FAI Cup. So
semi-final of the Cup.
Yeah. It's not like it wasn't like if you were sacked or you left them on bad terms. Like you say, you left them in good fettle completely. Sorry about that.
Some really good friends at Sligo. Mary McGann was magnificent, the best club secretary I've ever worked with. Michael Toolan, Ray Gallagher, Fergal Keaveney, some really, really good people at Sligo. Really good.
In fairness, and we say a lot here, don't we, Roy, that the community work that Sligo do, it's unbelievable. I just see myself, my own father-in-law is a massive Sligo Rovers supporter, and he's a massive, the work that he does in terms of fundraising and trying to help the club is brilliant, and we do commend him time and time again.
Mary McGann's father, Packy, used to go Friday nights round the pubs collecting money for Sligo Rovers, and I remember on a couple of occasions I went with him, and he just walked around and chatted to people and got money off them. It's fantastic. And the sad thing about Sligo Rovers, I tried to get back there twice, and I didn't. I got interviewed, but I didn't get it. And this is the difference, I think, between England and Ireland. If Sligo Rovers had been an English team and I'd have managed them, had the success I had, left, and then the job come up again, I'd have been welcomed back with open arms because I did a good job there. And, that didn't happen at Sligo. So I think some people, as you say, thought I left under controversial circumstances. I'm a professional football manager, and I left for professional reasons, nothing else.
And listen, your story is your story. I mean, when you look back, you say, maybe I look back and Sligo, I could have done maybe this or that with it. But then you never would have got that chance with Bows, and then you would have been kicking yourself now about the Bows situation. So, and of course, then you wouldn't have hit Africa, learned your stuff, and then back into the north again. So, I mean, you have to follow your path, and that's just the way it is, And I think you made the right decision. Nathan, a fan's question.
Yeah, we've been on this for a few minutes, have me? Poor Bradley Eccles is sitting with bated breath, waiting to hear this answer. So, Sean, here's the one for you. For someone like yourself that's been experienced in your playing career and managing career with League of Ireland and the Northern Football League, out of those two leagues, what league do you feel is, it's setting up for a brighter future out of the League of Ireland and the Northern Football League? Who do you think can do more going forward?
I certainly think they're really getting their act together in the north. I think there's a real progression up there. Linfield have gone full time. Crusaders have a fantastic facility, great plans. Larne, Kenny Bruce is doing magnificent work at Larne. Cliftonville are a fantastic club. Mick McDermott at Glentoran, they're a magnificent team to watch to play. So, if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, I said the League of Ireland's in a better position. I think now the gap is closed and it's getting really, really close. And I just think, the answer is, I would love to see an All-Ireland League. I would love to see the top 6 or 7 teams from the north against the top 6 or 7 down here. And I think if we did that, over time, we'd be as good as the SPL. I really do. So right now, I still think the League of Ireland is slightly better in terms of the quality of football that's played by most of the teams. But the gap is closing. It really is closing. And, Linfield, Glentoran, Cliftonville, Crusaders, Coleraine would all be very, very competitive in the League of Ireland and up near the top.
Yeah, you took my question away there, Sean. So I'll ask, what is the failings of the league up the north? Are they similar to what it is down south, i.e. facilities and stuff?
Yeah, I think it is. There's, I mentioned Crusaders, which is a magnificent stadium. Linfield play at Windsor Park. Coleraine have revamped their stadium, but there's still 1 or 2 grounds that are poor to go to. I think they're certainly the media coverage and the television coverage around the Irish League at the moment is probably just above what we're doing down here.
Well, they're on Sky, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on Sky, and the BBC carry live matches.
Yeah,
they have a highlight show on a Tuesday night, and Radio Ulster have a sports sound every Saturday, which is basically 6 hours dedicated to all the soccer games going on that Saturday. So there really is very little between the two leagues, and as I say, 5 years ago that wasn't the case. So maybe you've got to say that up north they're certainly getting their act in gear and closing that gap.
And you've seen the inside of maybe the thought process behind not wanting an All Ireland League up there. So what is the reasons? Simply to do with afraid to lose your European spots, maybe afraid to get relegated down a few divisions if there was a few divisions with the two leagues joining up together. And of course then the biggest thing probably is the federations, and there's jobs there that people probably don't want to lose.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that last one. I think that's a big stumbling block, and everybody doesn't want to say that, and the people in charge are, there's this and there's that. I think that's the main stumbling block. I think, certainly clubs would consider, if it's a Linfield or a Glentoran, we're always challenging for the league here, or Larne, and if we go down there's going to be more competition. But I think real sports people, real football people would embrace that competition and would understand that that's only going to make them better. So I think for me, the big stumbling block is more at the administration level. Now, I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I've the very same opinion. So I'd love to see it, and I think if there was more money on the table, which there has been talk of, that you can build a better league, as you said, challenging something like the Scottish Premier Division and their whole league setup, and that's where we want to go. We want to improve. For us down south, and I'm not totally sure on what way it is viewed up the north, but for us down south, I think the majority of people would like to see it, because it would make it a lot more interesting as well, So, and I'm sure there'd be a few interesting away days as well in the league,
like the old Santa Sports Cup days. They used to be some lively trips, to say the least.
Dundalk at Windsor Park would be a good one.
That would be an interesting one, hugely. Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there. Nathan, thanks very much as always. Sean, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and best of luck with the future, with any jobs that come up, because you're not finished football. You're still out there. You're still ready to get back involved in football. I'm nearly telling you, but is that right?
Oh, listen, 100%. Look, I took a break there. I went back to university. I did my degree and did a master's in sports psychology. I actually think I'm in a better position now to manage than I was when I was managing the League of Ireland, 10 years ago. So I still think, and I still believe that I've got one really, really big job in me. And the secret now is finding the right club with the right vision, with the right people behind the scenes who want to build something over 3 or 4 years, because I really would like to see what I could do.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you missed out on the Derry job, so we'll see what's left there for you.
They selected really well. That Rory Higgins was a fantastic footballer, and got really good experience working under Stephen at Dundalk, and I'm quite sure Stephen would have helped Rory get that job as well. But I think he's got a big job on his hands, but I think he's more than capable of being successful up there.
Absolutely. For everyone who's watched today, thanks very much. And if you're on the move and you can't get to watch on YouTube, don't forget you can listen to the podcast on all and any major podcast providers, and vice versa. As I said, if you want to look at our ugly mugs and you're listening on the podcast, do go onto YouTube. Sean, Nathan, thanks very much.
Pleasure.